delighted to be joined by the Executive Director from the Department of Disability in Los Angeles, Stephen Simon. So nice to have you with us.
Thank you, Maria. So glad to be here.
All right, so let's just get into a real basic thing, first of all. How does the Department on Disability define the word disability? What are those categories?
Sure. Well, we define it very broadly. I mean, our baseline is the Americans with Disabilities Act, and they consider any impairment, mental or physical, that limits someone's substantial life activity. So dressing yourself, for example, getting out to transportation or work could define you as having a disability. But broadly, we serve anyone with a disability. We serve families that have a person with a disability in the family. We serve caregivers. We serve organizations that serve people with disabilities. The categories people talk about: mobility disabilities, someone who might have to use a wheelchair, for example, blind and low vision folks who are deaf or hard of hearing, people with cognitive and understanding and learning disabilities, people with mental health disabilities. It's truly very broad.
When it comes to LA, is it still the same statistic? Is it still, 1 in 4 Los Angeles residents has something that could be considered a disability?
Sure. Depending on who you ask and who's done the survey and the research, the number varies from anywhere as low as 18% to as high as 25%.
Wow.
We have an aging population that increasingly...
And it goes up.
Right. It goes up. And people... Sometimes there's a lot of stigma around disability. So a lot of people don't consider themselves disabled, but they are losing their mobility, right? They're losing their vision, they're losing their hearing, they're losing their ability to do the things they did when they were much younger. And that can often define people as having disabilities. So we think that number is large and broadly encompassing. We try to serve anybody kind of regardless of how they self-define.
You mentioned a few times the ADA, the American with Disabilities Act. It's whatever, a little over 30 years into it. What changes have happened in Los Angeles proper because of that? We talked sidewalks, we talked adaptations in building and retrofitting, but have there been huge leaps in LA? And what exactly did the ADA ask of everyone when it was passed?
Well, a few questions there. Overarching, there has been an extraordinary change over the past 30 years. And that's true in LA, and it's true in most of this country, right? This was sort of our Civil Rights Act in the disability community. This was we have a right to access the civic space, to participate in our communities fully, without exception. Right? And so, again, the physical plant that we've talked about, buildings, sidewalks, streets, buses, transportation, technology is all changing. I think what's most important, though, is probably keeping up with the social change and understanding. People need to understand that people with disability, one, have this right, and it's just the right thing to do. You don't want to be shutting people off to the side. You want to be making space inclusive. That's sort of the magic word these days. You've got inclusion. We talk about race generally, gender, LGBTQ community, but disability inclusion and diversity is vital as well. People with disabilities are in all of those populations. And it's just sort of that social contract where people really are invited in and not sort of fetishized as other. That's really important. That said, I'm going to flip everything I said on its ear.
Okay.
We had a film festival, a disability-centered film festival, just a couple weeks ago called Real Abilities. It's our 3rd year here in LA hosting this. It's to talk about inclusion of people with disabilities in media, film and television. And someone very involved in that, the person who actually picks out our films each year, Michael Daugherty, he's in the Writers Guild. And he made a point and posted the most poignant piece on Facebook or somewhere that just said, I appreciate all these gains around the ADA 30th. I appreciate you want to celebrate it, but I still, get down to the corner and can't cross the street. I still get to transportation opportunities that are not accessible for me. I'm still running into barriers that I should not have to deal with in 2020. And that's true, and it's powerful. So bottom line is we've got a long way to go. The ADA itself, talked about inclusion in employment. There's a lot of work to still be done there. and making space accessible for not just your customers and the clients and the public, but your employees, people that work there, people that apply for jobs. That's Title I. Title II is, again, city space, county space, local government, state government. Everything we do literally everything we do has to be accessible. And Title III is that public sphere. It's the stores, the markets, the sports venues, and I think as a city, we have an obligation to deal with all three. Title II is where we sit. That's where they're really looking at us closely. But Title I in employment, we need to be working with businesses big and small to ensure accessibility. We need to be a model city around employment. And then again, in the Title III space, how do we work with businesses to ensure they're accessible? How do we help educate them? How do we help even perhaps work with funding programs to state and federal government to ensure our local businesses have access to that?
Something you said really struck me, and it's also kind of with this whole issue of civil rights and racism and perception and the other and all of those things. That issue of inclusion, and that inclusion is not just physical as much as it's visual, and that inclusion in the entertainment industry, and that inclusion in just daily activity and in the place of employment, because I think we all need to take another step forward in terms of how we see people. So I imagine that in the arena of people with disabilities, that how they're perceived is an issue that needs to be addressed. And so what are the things that we as a society, and now I'm getting like 35,000 feet in the air to talk about this kind of, but what should we be aware of, and what should we be doing, and how should we, terminology and acceptance and employment and all of these things, and where are we falling back and where should we be stepping forward in that right?
A fun question that we talk about a lot.
We can stay until like as long as you want.
Couple thoughts. Again, that's why we talk about activities and programmatic accessibility over and above the physical space is important, right? The kid deserves to play baseball with other kids, right?
Right.
Education, same piece. Sometimes people need really specialized education to support their work. I understand that, but the more they can be included with other kids, the better. Disability etiquette is so important, right? You don't, really well-meaning people, blow that. You see a blind person that looks like, for every reason, having difficulty at an intersection. Don't take their arm and grab them and start moving them. Don't touch anybody without asking permission. But it's okay to ask politely, hey, can I be of assistance here? And then they'll tell you what they need, right? Someone in a wheelchair, never start pushing someone's wheelchair. I happen to see that all the time in town, where someone just figures, wow, they're going up a hill or they have to go up that ramp and look like they're having trouble. Let me touch it and push. It's as invasive as it would be to anybody else, just having someone just sort of touch you on the street without asking, right? Or if you need help. So a piece of it is sort of learning that etiquette. We put on trainings. We just did a training nationally for Fox Sports and Fox News on disability, for their staff, on disability etiquette, how to think about how you talk to the public and how you talk to and work with your own employees. So awareness is a big piece of it. Another whole angle to this discussion is something that I'd love to say because it's sort of fun to get there and raise eyebrows, and it's called inspiration porn. And it's a term that's intentionally used because it, again, gets people's attention, but it's about objectification. People without disabilities all too often want people with disabilities to be inspiring. You're so inspiring because you did that really menial task.
Right.
And it's actually offensive to a lot of people with disabilities. Don't say I'm inspiring, because and there's an activist, Stella Young, I think is her name. She's an Australian activist and did a great TED Talk on this. I recommend everybody Google her and look at this TED Talk, because don't give me an inspiration award because I survived being disabled today. Don't give me an inspiration award because I woke up this morning and remembered my name. Give me an inspiration award because I did something truly inspirational, right? My life is not something that's sad. It's not something that needs to be fixed. It's not something I can't believe I got through the next day. It's something that I have a lot of barriers to deal with. But we're proud members of community. We just want the opportunity to be included.
Wow, this is actually a really a far more moving conversation than I expected, and really, really important. So thank you so much, Stephen, for being with us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.